Hey guys, it's Blackcliff back with more Genshin Impact. Today's video is on the refreshed Starglitter shop. I want to talk about which one are worth buying this month, so without further ado, let's get into it. First, I'll talk about the featured characters. Unexpectedly, the two characters featured this month are Fischl and Xiangling. I thought they would continue to rotate the three characters Amber, Lisa and Kaya. I think this means potentially those characters will one day be featured in the Reta banner instead of just being constantly made available in the Starglitter shop. As an aside, in case you guys don't know, getting the wishes from the Starglitter shop is very inefficient, because each fate costs 5 Starglitter, so you need 50 in order to get one guaranteed 4 star. The characters available in the Starglitter shop cost only 34, and you can even choose which 4 star to get. If you're playing the game from the start, it is likely that you have unlocked Fischl from the event last patch and Xiangling from Spiral Abyss. These two characters are great support characters. Fischl is very easy to use, has a decent energy generation and just explodes as damage support at Constellation 6. The value goes up significantly if you have a Hydro DPS like Child, but even Mona is suitable for an insane Electrocharge parry. But also the thing is that Fischl is immediately useful from the get-go, and the most important constellation is the last one. But despite how good Fischl is, you have to remember that Fischl is featured on the Rate Up banner right now. I would recommend pulling more from the banner before you ever consider buying Fischl from the shop. One thing I can say is that if you have Child and you are one constellation short of a max constellation, maybe it's worth considering getting it all maxed out. But otherwise, buy the characters in the shop to unlock them rather than to obtain constellations. There is basically no other pyro characters in the game that can continuously do pyro damage after being swapped out, and her ultimate is one of the best pyro AoE in the game. On top of this, all of Xiangling's constellations are great, and they also tend to help out with her performance as a support, with the exception of Constellation 2. Xiangling isn't currently featured on the Rate Up banner, so I understand the desperation for those of you who want to get her up to Constellation 6. But considering the fact that miHoYo has been recycling 4-star characters into the Rate Up banners, I would recommend waiting for the day that Xiangling is back in the banner rather than using the shop to net her constellations. Here's what I have to say though, because the featured characters are most likely characters that you already own, miHoYo is sort of probably telling us to pay a bit more attention to the featured weapons in the shop, and it is easier to consider the weapons when you're less interested in the characters, and I'm telling you, you're probably in for a treat. So for the featured weapons, you are back to the Blackcliff weapons. Let's talk about the Blackcliff weapons for a bit. Blackcliff weapons all have the crit damage substat. I used to not think much of these weapons because of their passive bonuses, which are difficult to trigger when you fight against bosses. But even at no stack, the Blackcliff Slasher can outperform the prototype Aminus at the same refinement. In other words, with the exception of the BP weapons, the Blackcliff weapons are very good DPS options. The passive bonus aside, it's just that crit is the best substat for endgame compared to attack, and the Blackcliff and the BP weapons are usually the easiest weapons to obtain with crit substats. Of course, one of the best arguments for craftable weapons is that they are easy to refine because you can obtain the prototype recipe from the weekly bosses. That said, I would like to say that getting to the max refinement isn't as easy as one initially imagines, because for example, in one of my accounts, I've only managed to get like 1 polearm and 1 claymore prototype at AR 50. Just because the prototypes will drop from the weekly bosses doesn't mean that most of us will be going around with max refined prototype Aminus. On top of that, the Blackcliff weapons do not involve any RNG, but you do have to wait for the weapons to be rotated in order to get more refinement. In that sense, Blackcliff weapons can be equally hard or easy to refine compared to the craftable weapons depending on your luck. Now, having said all that, I would like to single the Blackcliff Longsword out. If you have watched my video on DPSK previously, you will know why I am recommending this weapon. The reason is because it is too easy to exceed the 100% crit rate if you use the Black Sword on Kaya, so you end up with wasted stats. My current stance is that this is the best in slot weapon for Frozen Kaya team comp. Even if you're using it for other sword DPS users, the Blackcliff Longsword is a good choice when you don't have access to a 5-star weapon or the BP weapon. In regards to Kaya, considering the fact that the Spiral Abyss enemies have been changed, cryo characters can play a bigger role on the upper floors this time. Besides all these options, waiting for the next month to buy something different from the shop isn't a terrible idea, especially if you struggle to get Starglitters as a free-to-play. and you would much rather unlock a 4-star you haven't already owned. That's it from me. If you find this video useful, please leave a like and do subscribe for more Genshin Impact content. Have a great one, guys. Bye bye.